My name's Josh Rupczynski. I'm the Managing Director at JMarketing, and I'm also a global expert in how to influence the purchase decision. And this is what I'm going to go through today, giving you the abridged version, the really useful information from the webinar, from the book, and from what my agency has been doing for more than a decade. The goal of this video is to be really useful for you. It's to assess what your current marketing team is doing, and if you use the information wisely, you will see what we have seen for a decade. Every time we implement this system in a client, the leads go up and up and up without spending another dollar on advertising. It's also going to give you a matrix with which to make your marketing decisions. It's always easier to understand what to do when you can put yourself in the shoes of your customer. And this is the 9 things that go through the subconscious mind of your potential buyer, even in complicated B2B sales. In fact, particularly in complicated B2B sales, when there are multiple people in the purchase decision cycle, this matrix really, really helps. We've used it for small companies, medium companies, and global behemoths. It works because none of this is guesswork. This is hard science, which has been proven. And we have used it over and over again subsequently in our own ways and turned it into best practices, which I'm going to take you through today. If you would like the copy of the small ebook, I'll put a link in the video description below. And if you'd like to see a longer webinar, I'm very happy to send it to you. Most importantly, I'd love to get together and just talk. The way that I create business is very authentically having relationships with people, being the trusted go-to person that can just give them advice when they call me, and when I'm in town, we go out for a beer. So if that sort of deal sounds good, then let's set a time to chat as well. I'll leave a link below and probably send you one as well. There's no sales pitch here. I don't do that, and I don't need to. I've got... all I really want from you is a genuine relationship and to help. So let's get into the science. And I'm going to take you through the basics of this ebook now. There are 9 core frictions we're going to cover. They're all here. We're going to fly through them today. But before we do, what I want to do is be very, very clear. Most companies are leaving money on the table. A lot of it. And the reason is because they don't understand that they are accidentally scaring customers away. Now, I know you're going to regale against that, but what we want to understand is that our brain is a prehistoric thing, and it is geared to protect us from pain. And pain is anything which is taking energy away from the heart. And that includes content which is hard to read, making a decision. Basically, the only time that we progress with a purchase is when we feel really, really comfortable. And we feel comfortable when the fight or flight mechanism hasn't been activated. So, how do we overcome that? Well, I'm going to give you 2 things today. One of them is the 9 frictions, the core frictions that our brain goes through. And the other one is a simple test. And that's where we're going to start right now. I want you to go to your website, flick to it right now, and I want you to look at the headline. What does the headline say? And here's an even better question. Does it start with a verb? Because if it doesn't start with a verb, you've almost certainly already failed. What happens when people go to a website? On average, when they're searching for something, they have 7 different tabs open, and their brain is giving up to 2.6 seconds per tab. It is looking for tabs to close because, again, it's trying to conserve its energy. Within 0.3 seconds, our mind makes a snap decision of whether it feels comfortable or not. That's driven entirely by design. You know when something looks professional and when it doesn't. And then in 2.6 seconds, our eyes focus on the biggest text on the page. Any reasonable designer knows to put the header as the biggest text on the page. But what it says is then critical. Because let's do a quick test. 1, 2. What did your eyes go to? You can't absorb a lot of information in just 2.6 seconds. So when we have really creative comments, or if we see like, we are the best, whatever, we've lost. And I've tested this hundreds and hundreds of times. Anytime you make a statement about how good you are, no one cares. The conversion rates, the actual lead rates and sales rates are so low. So I hope that's not you. But what's the trick? Well, the trick is just a few words, largest content. It helps to start with a verb because a verb solves your customer's problem. If we have another look at another side, emulate success of elite performers, influence your customers' online decision making. Process is always the same. And really well written copy, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, mirrors exactly the same process. Cut administrative costs, save up to this much. Shorten elective care backlogs. Improve patient and clinical staff satisfaction. And easy to read stats. Why? Why is this so powerful? I've spent a lot of time with eye tracking specialists and even Nobel Prize winners to understand this. And the simple fact is that we give humans way too much credit for how sophisticated we are. Turns out we don't read. I mean, we can read, but again, our brain is geared to protect us from pain. So we skim. So what is the most effective way to write? It is appealing to what they get and writing in a way that a 9th grader can understand. And how do you know how to do that? I mean, I know there's AIs out there and there's people that say they're wonderful writers. In my experience, and I have tested hundreds, if not 1,000 writers, most writers don't know what they're doing. But more importantly, my subjective opinion doesn't matter. What matters is results. And there are ways to A/B test or rapid message test to see that these headlines hit before we put them in the field. And this again is why consistently we generate amazing results. So let's assume that we've passed the headline test. Let's assume that all the other hygiene factors like proof points are there and so on and so forth. What is it between 2.6 seconds and 30 seconds that someone's looking for that puts them at ease? This is where what's in the book comes in. It is the 9 frictions. And I'll fly through this because I promised this would be a short video. But these are them. Completeness of solution. Don't offer me a solution which doesn't solve everything or creates other problems. What we want to do is remove fear. And you'll notice all of these are driven by fear. The fear of making the wrong decision. So completeness of solution is, if you're going to sell in a technology, then how can we be sure that it solves everything we need that technology to do and doesn't cause other problems like needing the staff to learn it or needing it to be supported by our tech company? Expertise and long-term value, durability. Expertise is relatively simple. You're 84% more likely to get a sale if you can show that you are really an expert. And even more so if you treat your customers like individuals, where you learn a little bit about them and recommend them something. Hey, this is the right solution for you. And long-term durability, and this is often misconstrued and misunderstood, your customers simply want to know, will I get long-term value from this? Now, that's easy when you're selling a lawnmower, but it's much, much, much more difficult when you're selling something like sales training. So if I invest in one of my sales team, how do I know he's not just going to leave the job next week and then all of that's lost? What can we do from a marketing standpoint to make it clear that that even doesn't matter? Because we're putting in a system which will allow your team, all of your team, to learn for years to come. And that doesn't mean changing your product mix. It certainly can, and that's why I recommend using the 9 frictions as a matrix that you test everything on in marketing. But it does dictate how you tell the story. And a company that tells the story that way on their website will keep a lot more attention, have a lot more inquiry than one that doesn't. Product pricing, production capacity, and timely delivery. Now, those last two shouldn't be too difficult. Can I, instead of getting one sales training, what if I want to train 1,000 people? Can you do it? And timely delivery, meaning what are each of the steps involved? What are the timings of those? I want to feel in control. Now, if it's something you're buying, sure, we know that it has to be delivered on time, but let's say you're buying a website. How long is the process going to take? Will my staff be able to meet those requirements? If we're only giving us 2 weeks to get content together, how does that work? If instead we show the entire process and we say, well, we write the content and your team can assess it, and on average it only takes them 2 days and they get 3 rounds, all of a sudden it removes that fear. But the big one, and I get this a lot, is pricing. Most companies are very fearful to put their price out there. Don't worry, I get it. But if you want to know what the science says give your customers an idea of what this is going to cost. It does not have to be prescriptive pricing. And I've worked with many, many, many global companies who have told me, well, our pricing's too difficult. We can't possibly do it without knowing more about the customer. We've always found a way. And every time we do, those leads and sales go up. Because how many times have you been to a website and they've said, well, for the price you need to inquire? And you've gone, no. 54% of the buy-in decision process is done prior to talking to someone. This, again, is our brain protecting us. So there are many ways to show price. You can show it in case studies of what other people paid. You can show it in a million different ways, but show it. The final 3 are similar clients, customer service, and return policy. Now, similar clients are show me clients like me using the system, using whatever it is you sell, who are getting benefit out of it. It's just risk minimization. If I see someone else who's like me, I'm comfortable doing it. The service and the guarantee, well, this is again risk minimization. It's not difficult, but if you can now put yourself in the shoes of your customer and think through each of those lenses across the journey, if we can feed them those things, we can skip them from fearful and not ready to make a decision right up to, cool, I really am interested in this. And this is what makes digital marketing effective. In fact, this is what makes all marketing effective. I'll give you just one statistical example, which is a tech company it's a publicly listed tech company in San Diego in the USA. We've just finished rolling out this process, and we simply rolled it out on a single page. And that tech company within 1 year has increased their leads from that page 1,300% and decreased their cost of lead by 75%. Now, you are very welcome to use that information yourself. I recommend you go to your website, have a look at the headline. I recommend you assess the text and see if it follows those structures. I'll also run it through a readability system, because most websites are dreadful at that. And I would recommend you look at the 9 frictions and are you addressing them? Now, you can do all that yourself. Like I said, I'm really happy to get together, give you my off-the-cuff advice on where you're at. And if you want to take it to a really professional next level, the first easy step we offer is, it's a loss leader for us, a full audit of your website, your marketing material, your emails, and all of your advertising channels. We will show you where you are wasting money, and we will give you the roadmap for where you should be investing your time and efforts to change things around. Everyone we do this with has the same results, and we stand behind them. Really, really nice to meet you. Book in a time to chat. I would love to get to know you. I'll put the link below. Speak to you soon. Cheers.